Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we renew our catfishing license and prepare for a trip to Lake Lapcat. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including Bowser's Fury and the new Pokemon Snap release date. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing part one of our ABCs of Nintendo Sports. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Actually, so not this week, but next week, Patrick, I have jury duty. And I don't remember. I don't know if you remember, like back in August, I originally got the notice for it. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing jury duty now. Let me kick it down the road to when it's January.
Exactly. Right. To when 1 in 3 people in LA County
gosh. I was like,
coronavirus.
Surely by January, we will at least be in a slightly better spot. But no, not the case.
No, much worse.
I have no idea how it works. It's so unclear to me reading the materials that they have online. What exactly I am in for. So it should be fun.
Well, so it is when I did jury duty like 2 years ago, all I had to do was like check the web portal like the night before and see the message like, we don't need you, like 4 times, and then that was it. And then it was done.
I've done it 2 previous times while I've been in LA, and I've always had to go in. I've never been sat on a jury, but like I don't think they're making people just sit in the big room like they normally do, but I don't know how it works otherwise. The whole thing, it's so like not clear. So I'm excited to find out what reveals itself next week.
Ugh, Mark, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I wish you didn't have to do that. Can I share with you a struggle that I just had?
Please.
It was, I freaked out when I saw the word Lake Lapcat in our show notes, because I know that is the name of the lake that Bowser's Fury takes place in, around, on top of, but it's not like so many other Mario locations are just like, they're on my tongue, right? They live in my throat, they thrive in my vocal cords. This one's new to me, Lake Lapcat. I'm still learning it, Mark.
It's also not particularly easy to say quickly.
No, Lake Lapcat.
It's a great vocal warm-up.
No! I messed it up. Other things that are great vocal warm-ups, the Sonic Forces Borrowing Program, Sonic Forces Borrowing Program, Sonic Forces Borrowing Program, Sonic Forces Borrowing Program. If you would like to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces, all you gotta do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And then you can play the game for as long as you want. I send it to you. You play it on your Nintendo Switch. You put it back in the envelope, which has a different address on it, which isn't yours but mine, and comes back to me. And then it goes to the next person. It's a perfect program.
It costs you nothing, and maybe, just maybe, occasionally, you will get Patrick's copy of Untitled Goose Game instead of his copy of Sonic Forces. But don't even bother trying to request it.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want to. If you want to bother requesting, it just has no effect. Like you can do whatever you want. Like everything else with the Sonic Forces Borrowing Program, there are no rules. So you can ask for one or you could ask for the other, but you're just going to get whichever one arrives. That's all there is to it. Mark, we need some help because we are doing a whole episode of 433s, which means that we're going to need to come up with as many topics that you and I can talk about for 4.5 minutes and 3 seconds, as many as possible. And normally we come up with them. We pick from topics that are like easy for us to wrap our heads around, that are really just you and I talking about TV shows and movies and candy, a lot of candy.
I mean, how many times have we, when it's time for us to come up with a 433, just looked around respective rooms, hoping for something to jump out at us?
But this time we are leaving that responsibility to you, the listener. I've noticed not a lot of responses for this one yet. People are hesitant to give us topics to discuss. Email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com
At
with
gmail.com.
your topics, and we will discuss them. Me and Mark and Patrick, the two of us, talking about what you want us to talk about for 4.5 minutes and 3 more seconds. We are doing that for our 433rd episode, which we will need those suggestions from you by February 9th. All hands on deck here, everyone. Send them in. We need topics. Mark, are you ready to talk about what we've been playing this week?
Yeah, let's do it. So I've been playing Shiren the Wanderer for Switch, subtitled The Tower of Fortune and the Dice of Fate. Last week when I was talking about it, I said that I was working my way through the tutorials, and that was the case.
Yes.
But then I put my Switch to sleep, left it with Shiren the Wanderer still engaged, left it for a few days, came back to it, and like my Switch would turn on, but the screen was just black, and like I could get the sub menu to come up if I held the home button. But anyway, so I just like did a hard restart of my Switch, and which worked totally fine, but I lost my progress in Shiren the Wanderer, and so I was like, do you know what? I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing like the training again. Like I'm just going right into it.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've played like a roguelike game where you go in, when you die, you lose basically all your progress or in anything you haven't kept in, like all your inventory, all your gold, anything that's on you, you lose. And then when you wake up, if you have stuff in like the warehouse that you saved previously, like you can recover that. And I forgot how like gratifying, like it's annoying, but also like gratifying that mechanic is, and how addictive it is, where you're just like, oh, like I was so like, I think I was like 1 or 2 floors away from the top of that dungeon. Like I gotta just go back in. Like I gotta try again.
Yeah, no, that's man. I mean, obviously, my most recent experience with something like that is Hades, which I didn't put on this list, but I'm still playing. And like there are times when I'm playing through Hades and like getting deep into it, where I'm like, oh man, this build that I have right now, like the combination of boons from the gods, is so cool and so interesting, and I don't think I'm powerful enough to like beat Hades this way, but it is an interesting way to play the game, and I'm just excited to have this rare combination of powers that like I have not had in the previous 60 hours of me playing this game, and probably will never have again. Is just so much fun and so cool, and like you're absolutely right. Like it is gratifying to get far and then like lose it and be like, all right, but this time.
I know it is funny though, like Shiren is like is a mean game. I don't know how Hades is, but like Shiren, like, and you just have to make peace with it, where you're just like, well, there was no way I could avoid that trap. Like there was no way that, because these dungeons are just like randomly generated, like the monsters are randomly placed, so it's like, well, there's no way I could have avoided that, and so like now I'm just dead, and all the great items, like everything I had is now gone. I have to start from scratch. But for some reason, instead of being annoying, like it just makes you want to like hop right back into it.
Yeah, Hades I think is immaculately fair. Like you always know what happened when you lost.
Oh, that is nice. Like I realized how much, and I know that this is an overdrawn comparison, but like
let's do it. Let's compare something to Dark Souls. Let's do it.
That's exactly what it is. Where like Dark Souls is like I think Dark Souls and like those types of games are more fair. So it sounds like more like in the vein of Hades, where you're like, well, I knew what I did wrong and like I messed that up. Sometimes Shiren is like, there's literally nothing I could have done. Like I was just doomed.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just to like, you know, loop back around on that, like in Hades, there are times where, especially in like early runs, where you just like are outgunned. Like there's you know, technically a way that you could have done it, but like it's just just incredibly difficult until like you've banked some you know, of the persistent powers. But yeah.
But yeah, I've been enjoying Shiren a lot. This one was originally a Vita game, and it has that like retro 16-bit style. The music is like okay, like it's fine. It's totally serviceable, but it is stuck in my head. Like it is played on loops endlessly, and I like wake up in the morning and it's already there.
Amazing.
Speaking of music that gets stuck in your head, I jumped back into Splatoon 2 for the
Hey!
Super Mario Brothers 35 Splatfest. And that was another one where like I was like, okay, it's like 11 o'clock on Friday night, and like I'm just gonna hop into this for like 1 or 2 rounds. And I got my butt kicked because it had been so long since I had played like
You should
Splatoon
have called
2.
me up. We could have gotten our butts kicked together.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Because I had so much fun. Like I total over this weekend, like totally got back into Splatoon 2. Was doing some salmon run. Was doing the competitive matches. Like, man, I'm excited. I'm bummed that like Splatfests are basically over. I know that they've been doing some like repeats, but I'm excited for like Splatoon 3 because I'm excited for like a reason to like really get back into Splatoon because man, I love Splatoon 2 so much.
Yeah, and again, just for or not again, but for the sake of clarity, a hypothetical Splatoon 3. We don't have any like
Sure,
rumors or announcement, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess I ended up going with the Superstar team instead of Super
Mm.
Mushroom. I know that in last week's news episode when we talked about which one I would do or which one we would do, I went with Super Mushroom, you went with Superstar. But your argument that like, do I need to get any bigger was so
No,
persuasive
you
because
don't
I
want to be
don't.
12 feet tall. You don't want it.
I want to ride roller coasters.
So as long as we're talking about old games that we are playing, I continue to play Final Fantasy 3 / Final Fantasy 6 on my Super NES Classic Edition. Um, it is I'm about 6 hours, 5.5, 6 hours into the game right now. And I have just I'm heading back down to the rich town that I can't remember the name of, and so I'm about to trigger the opera sequence. The Final Fantasy 6 has this legendary opera sequence where one of your characters needs to impersonate an opera singer to be kidnapped by someone who owns an airship so you can blah 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 blah. And it is a stunning set piece, and I'm so looking forward to it. But the thing that I feel blown away by as I am playing it is the sheer number of like knock me down, drag out awesome set pieces that I've already experienced in this game in the first 5.5 hours. Again, I know this game, I know it back and forward. It is like in my blood, in my veins. I love it, love it, love it. But it is impeccably paced. Like you move from one exciting event to another exciting event. There's no part in Final Fantasy 3, at least to the point that I'm playing right now, that feels like you are on a fetch quest or like exploring a town with no real purpose. Like everything has urgency to it, everything is motivated, everything is wonderful, and the game keeps like throwing twists and variations on its like basic turn-based combat. There's a part which is right where I got to the last week when we were talking about it, where you split up into 3 different parties, and like some of you ride a raft into town. Another group has to sneak through the South Figaro, and infiltrate the city, and then like Sabin gets like tossed off into like a strange new continent and has like a whole slew of adventures. It recruits 3 new people to the party. It's great. And then I also just played the part where you again are like split up into 3 parties, but they're all on the same map. And so you just kind of like position them about so that you can intercept the like enemies as they are like approaching this Esper that you're defending. And like it's just insanely diverse and cool and engaging. And I know it's I mean, you want to say that we're being hack for comparing a game to Dark Souls. I'm saying Final Fantasy 3 is good. That's my thesis statement here, but I stand by it, Mark.
No, Final Fantasy 3 is also AKA like Final Fantasy 6, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. When was the last time? Had you played it recently before this playthrough? Because your description of it is making me want to like play it again, and I think I don't even know the last time, like 20 years or something like that since I last played Final Fantasy 6.
It's been a super long time for me too. In fact, probably even longer than I think, because like it was re-released on the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, on a disc with Chrono Trigger. Is that right? I think so. But like it's virtually unplayable in that form because every time you enter a fight, the game has to load from the disc. Or anytime you open a menu, it has to load from the disc. But obviously no loading on the Super Nintendo and no loading on the SNES Classic. So it's super snappy. Everything happens super fast. So yeah, I mean, you're right. It's probably been 20 years since I played this game. It is a shortcut to, being 14 years old, or younger. I guess I don't really have a concept of when the game came out. And yeah, I'm just absolutely loving it. It is comfort food for me. The music is great. The pixel art is gorgeous. I even love it when it goes into the like mode 7 and like just like warps those like really clean graphics to like make you think that you're running around on a chocobo or flying around in an airship. It's just a beautiful game.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been playing a SNES game, not one that we played a little more recently than that. I After we played Donkey Kong Country 3, we talked about wanting to go back and play Donkey Kong Country 2 now that we have access to the like rewind feature that would hopefully deal with a lot of the frustrations
Yes.
we had with that game the first time. So I've started just today the playthrough of Donkey Kong Country 2. I'm only a handful of levels in, so it's still fairly easy. I haven't had to like use the rewind feature because I know the pain is coming. I have distinct memories
You remember
of when
yes.
this game gets like too difficult. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of revisit that at a slower pace and not feeling like so much pressure now that like the rewind feature is accessible to me.
How are you finding it so far compared to 3?
Yeah, it's fun. It's uh it yeah, I don't really know. It's so early. Like some of the stuff that isn't in 3 is kind of like jarring to me, like going back to just like a map that is very defined, like where you go next.
Yeah, very linear.
And
Yeah.
like it has like the big DK coins, but it doesn't have like the puzzle solving element that I liked in DK3. But it definitely, to me, like it was easier to jump into the controls of this one. And I think it's because like it was Diddy and Dixie, which are two kind of like fast characters. And
Yeah.
so and I feel like there was more of a learning curve for me with Kitty, whereas like here it's easier for me to just like jump in and go.
Kiddy Kong, much maligned, but we've decided that we love him anyway, like some Lord of the Rings character. And now I don't even remember who it was that we made him. But go back to our episode from Thursday. We did cast Kiddy Kong as one of the Lord of the Rings characters.
Pippin, maybe?
I don't remember, Mark. The last game that I played this week is I actually turned on the Monster Hunter Rise demo, not just downloaded it. Mark, did you get a chance to play any of the Monster Hunter Rise demo?
No, I saw it on my like Switch home screen this weekend when I was like, oh, what should I play? And I just couldn't get myself to do it.
I mean, it's tough. It's possible I'm just not like a Monster Hunter guy. And if anyone is listening to this and is like a big Monster Hunter supporter, like email into us and like just let us know what like your sort of tips are for like getting into it. Cause like it does seem like it is a franchise with a lot of like value to it, with a lot of features and a history. But like I don't know. I played through the tutorial stages, and then one of after there are 2 tutorials and then there are like 2 missions that you can play in the demo. And I did the 2 tutorials and one of the missions, and I don't know, the controls feel very like cumbersome, and the actions all feel very slow. And just the way the game chooses to tutorialize itself feels, I don't know, like it'll stop you all the time, and then there's like 6 windows of text to read of like how you do something, and I'm like, I'm not. By the time I close this help box, I'm not going to remember any of that. Like it seems it's not doing a good job of teaching me how to play it. So I don't know. I hope to get back to it. As of right now, I don't feel like Monster Hunter Rise is one that I will pick up when it comes out at the end of March. But that my mind could change on that. There was also, Mark, you and I talked about a little bit last week, that there was seemingly an issue with Monster Hunter Rise, in that if you had a lot of friends on your friend list, that the game sort of like stuttered and had frame rate issues, especially when you were trying to do multiplayer. the Monster Hunter Japanese Twitter account has assured everyone that that is a problem with the demo and not present in the full version of the game. They said, quote, for customers using the demo version of Monster Hunter Rise, if the number of registered friends on the user's account exceeds a certain number, the game will begin to stutter. This is a processing failure. Please be assured that we have confirmed that this issue does not occur in the full version. We apologize for any inconvenience and thank you for your support.
So good that it's not going to be an issue in the long term. Crazy bug.
A crazy bug. Also, just like a little bit weird that they're like, "Oh yeah, it's not in the full version." Take our word for it. I don't know. There's something about it that's like, yeah, the thing that you're complaining about, that's not in the full game. It's only in the version of the game that you're experiencing right now.
Well,
like, it's legit, but like, I don't know, it feels weird.
I guess it's also an easy way to tell which of your friends has a lot of people on their Switch friends list or not.
That's true. That's how you smoke them out. You ask people how the game's performing.
Exactly.
All right, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
So lots of games coming out this week, but none that I'm really familiar with or looking forward to. The one I would say notable release on Wednesday, January 20th, is Hitman 3 Cloud Edition, which was announced in the last partner showcase, I think it was. Along with like Control Cloud Edition.
Yeah.
But this version, Hitman 3 Cloud Edition for Cloud version for Nintendo Switch will be coming out on the same day as all the other platforms, which is kind of cool. So that's Wednesday, January 20th. I'm guessing, I don't know this for sure, that it'll have a similar setup to the Control client where you download it, and then in order to actually like purchase, you have to play like the 5-minute demo. And so I guess an interesting way to at least get, like a little bit of Hitman 3,
just that
if
tiny,
nothing else.
tiny bit.
Yep.
That's a funny practice that I like, that they're like, okay, you know what you're getting here, right? Like, you're streaming this game. So like whatever technical hiccups that you're going to experience, you experience them before you
Right.
throw down your money.
Exactly. And I did the one for Control, and my experience was really good. But yeah, I am curious to like how these do sales wise, because again, I think it's a great way to get like third-party games that otherwise wouldn't come to Switch onto Switch.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's I think never going to be the way that I choose to engage with these kind of games. Like, if I'm going to play Control, I'm going to play it on PlayStation 4. But it is cool that if this is the only platform you have that option. We didn't do like a rundown here, but there are a fair amount of games that are on sale right now on the Switch eShop and like up on Amazon, including some first party games. And there were only two things I wanted to call out real fast. One is that Sonic Mania is super cheap right now. And also the Castlevania collector, what's it called? Anniversary collection. We did an episode maybe a year or two ago where we ranked all of the games in the collection. It's a pretty fun collection. It costs $5 right now.
Ooh, that's a good deal.
It's worth it. It's worth it for Kid Dracula alone, frankly. But like Kid Dracula is super fun to play on that thing. Castlevania Bloodlines is fun. Super Castlevania 4 is good. Castlevania 3 is great. Castlevania 2 is fun if you have a guide. The original Castlevania is okay if not too heavy. And then there are two other Game Boy games on there. But for $5, it's 8 games for $5. Like that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Yeah. So check out the rest of those if you are interested in picking up some games for cheap. All right, Mark, let's close this segment out. Now it is time for a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers did not play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, last week we mentioned that the new Marvel TV show WandaVision it was coming to Disney Plus, and that we were both excited about it, excited to watch it. We are now going to use this 433 segment to talk about the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. If you do not want to be spoiled in any way, you can skip ahead 4 minutes and 30 seconds, where we will be done. But I also don't think it is possible to spoil really anything from these first 2 episodes.
I don't think so either, because I still we don't really know what's going on.
We don't know what's going on. Yeah. So the premise of the show, so it appears, is that Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, and Vision are stuck in what appear to be a simulation that it presents itself as sitcoms from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, and some of it seems like it is like being manifest by Wanda, just because they're able to like rewind time at the end of like the second episode to try to get out of a situation they don't like. So I enjoyed these 2 episodes, but my sister texted me and she was like, I don't really know what to make of like WandaVision, and she was watching with her family and her kids, and like she was saying that like her kids were confused, and I totally get it, because these first 2 episodes, like the first one's like a riff on the Dick Van Dyke Show, the second one is like a riff on like Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie, and
there's some Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie in the first one too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But like it's like, if you're not familiar with those old sitcoms, like there's not really much to grab onto in these first 2 episodes. I, did watch those in syndication growing up, and like, so it was like I enjoyed it, but I do feel like the joke could wear thin really quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I was a real big Nick at Night rat when I was a kid. Like I used to watch that old programming on Nickelodeon after like 7 or whenever it would start. But like for me, I'm like qualifiedly enjoying the show. I want it to be weirder, and I also find everyone's every reaction to it I've read is people being like, man, this show's weird. And I'm like, is it that weird? The show's not that weird. Watch a weird show. Watch, a Legion, and then we'll talk about shows that are weird.
I think it's weird for like Marvel, right? For Marvel to do this thing that the first 2 episodes it's presenting you are essentially just like unfunny, like retro sitcoms.
Yeah. And well, and so that's, sorry, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but the thing that it made me want to watch Dick Van Dyke. And like, one of the things that WandaVision for me is missing is the elements that made those original shows successful. Like, Elizabeth Olsen is not Lucille Ball. Paul Bettany is not Dick Van Dyke. Like, we're missing some of the pieces that made those shows successful.
I think that's true, and I think like we're but for me, actually, I agree that they are not like those like sitcom actors or like those actors that made those shows so enjoyable. But I am actually really enjoying watching Paul Bettany and you just said her name, but I'm blanking.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen, like playing these types of characters, because I feel like neither of them are like, this is not their usual bag.
Not natural. Yeah.
And so I think it's fun to see them having fun, and it's fun to see them like being able to play off of each other in like this like playful fun way, because it's definitely not a way that we've seen those characters or those actors interact before. So I am enjoying that part of it.
Also, give me anything with Catherine Hahn. My God, she's wonderful. Isn't she great?
She's so great. And like and it seems like everybody's having fun. And I was watching a trailer. It was a pre-roll for like a YouTube video that I was watching.
Yeah.
And it shows stuff that I'm assuming is coming later, and it looks very much more like stock, like what I would expect from a Marvel TV show. And so the fact that we're here and we have to get to that point, I am interested. Like, I'm excited to see like the thread and like the path that gets us there.
Well, and like the end of the second episode shows us like first of all, like Wanda just becoming pregnant, which is a staple of old sitcoms. But also then them shifting into color, and sort of like implying like now we're headed into the 70s. And like I do think that's cool. Like, if it's the difference between like a 50s sitcom and a 60s sitcom are pretty similar, but once you start getting to like 70s, 80s, 90s, like that's when I think things are going to get weird. All right. That was good, Mark. I feel like we covered a lot of ground there. I feel really good about that conversation. It was just good. I'm very happy with it, and I'm only still talking because I couldn't find. Okay, we were accompanied today by Timotheus Petrin on cello and George Zhuying Fu on piano. Mark, let's get into the news.
So last week, Nintendo dropped like 2 trailers for Mario 3D World and Bowser's
That's right.
Fury. It was like
And a website, and dropped a website, which had more information. Yeah.
So on Tuesday morning, they revealed like a 2-minute trailer, and it didn't tell us much about Bowser's Fury. It showed off a little bit, and then that's the one they warned us about. And then on Wednesday, they dropped like a legit 7-minute reveal of it with no warning. It doesn't make sense to me, but it clearly is working for them.
Well, and also the 7-minute, the 2-minute trailer was like really just about Bowser's Fury. It was just showing that game to us. The 7-minute trailer for the complete package of Super Mario World 3 or Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury showed off new features in the old game and showed a lot more kind of in depth as to what the actual game of Bowser's Fury is going to be.
Totally. And so let's actually start with the Super Mario 3D World and the new features that are coming to that. So you will be able to do online co-op, which you weren't able to do with the Wii U version, where you can join your friend's game or they can join yours. And there's only one save file. And so it's whoever's like hosting is the one whose like progress will be saved. But seriously, fingers crossed that this works well.
Oh my God. If this works, it is clutch. This will be, I mean, this game is so good and so good multiplayer. And like, you know, we're just living in a world right now where you need to be able to play your multiplayer co-op games online. And I will legit play this game with anyone I know who owns a Switch. Anyone. I don't care where you are. I don't care how long you need me to play with you. I will do it. I love this game.
It seems like it would be challenging to do online platforming co-op just because you can't really cheat. Like you might be able to cheat in like a fighting game or a or even like Mario Kart. Like those tricks to kind of like hide the seams wouldn't work so well.
Sure.
And so I'm nervous, but I'm cautiously optimistic. And it's cool because up to 4 people can play in different combinations. So 2 people could be on one Switch, 2 people can be on the other Switch. You can all play together. You can have 1 person on one Switch, 3 people, everybody on their own Switch. I'm hopeful that this is going to work because I really want it to.
Yeah, and I know that these sound like table stakes for any other game that you would play online, but it's tough for Nintendo. So I applaud them for getting to this point. And again, fingers crossed that it works.
Super Mario Maker 2 was fairly rough, especially at launch, and so I will be interested to see how this works out. There's also a new photo mode that lets you apply the stickers that you earn throughout the game to the photos themselves, which is a good use for stickers because otherwise there wouldn't be one.
Yeah, so the stickers appeared obviously in the original game on the Wii U, and the Wii U had really regular functionality with the Miiverse service where you could write messages and draw them and sort of decorate them with the stamps and stickers that you collected in a bunch of different games, right? Like the NES remix games had stickers. This game had stickers. A bunch of them did. Smash also.
It felt like to me that stickers were kind of Nintendo's Wii U era attempt at an achievement or trophy system, but
100%.
It didn't. It was never implemented in a way where not even every Nintendo game had it.
Right. A lot of them did, but certainly not enough did. And there weren't numbers attached to them, which I always thought was nice. With achievements or trophies, that all gets distilled down into a numerical score. And I like the very Nintendoism of nope, it's just what stamps you have access to. It's who cares if one stamp is rarer than the others. So yeah, this is a cool application for them. The photo mode looks an awful lot like the photo mode in Super Mario Odyssey, which every now and then I go through the photos and videos that we capture on the Switch, and most of them are Animal Crossing because we see a lot of cute things, and Sarah and I want to share them with each other. But I also have a ton of pictures that I took in Odyssey, and so I'll be excited to do that again in this game.
Also, the Captain Toad levels, which previously were single player only, can now, like, 4 people can play them at the same time, which is nice. Instead of on the Wii U game where, like, if you're playing multiplayer and you happen into
You
one of
just
the
gotta go
Captain
get a
Toad
snack.
levels.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's this is where the sort of Captain Toad style of gameplay is pioneered, is in like these special little levels, one in each world. And they're not super challenging until like you get kind of like late in there. That there's nothing really that holds a candle to like the depth of the levels presented in Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. But they're super fun, and the idea of being able to play multi-toaded is super fun.
And then they're the Cat Peach and Cat Mario amiibo, which these are the new ones, right? Like, these didn't
Yeah.
come out previous. Okay, so
Right.
these are
They
new
come
ones.
out. We saw them revealed, I think, when the 35th anniversary Mario Direct. But yeah, they're coming out alongside the game on February 12th.
Got it. So if you have those, then in 3D World, you'll be able to unlock power-ups and other in-game enhancements by scanning
Yeah.
those amiibo in.
They're being cagey. I looked into it. I was like, what do these things do? I want to know, and I couldn't figure it out.
And so now let's talk about Bowser's Fury, which we finally have some information on. It's a single open world environment. You're in Lake Lapcat, and
See, it's not easy to say.
It's not easy to say. It changes as like basically, like, there's this big like Bowser, and every time he wakes up he like wreaks havoc on the world, and so like the environment changes while that's happening. Giant Bowser, he's called Fury Bowser in English, but this is too good. God Slayer Bowser in Japanese.
God Slayer Bowser. I don't want to ever call him Fury Bowser. What's the point of that? He is the God Slayer.
That's, yeah. I mean, it also so many implications for the Mushroom Kingdom canon in general. Like, who is the creator?
Means there is at least one god, right? And that this version of Bowser is capable of slaying it, or at least charged with slaying it. I guess I don't know if he's able to do it, but like he wants to.
Well, not to be outmatched, Mario can transform into Giga Cat Mario when he activates the giant bell to battle Fury Bowser, and he looks he's like a Super Saiyan Mario is kind of what he looks like.
Well, but also Super Saiyan Cat Mario.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks, it's weird because like he's obviously a lion, right? Like they cross the line from like him being a cat, which is clearly he's a house cat. He wears a little collar with a bell. But when he's big, he is definitely a lion because he's got a big old bushy mane.
Yeah. But he's giant. Giga Cat Mario is also very cute.
Yeah, and we don't. I like that they held this from us. We see the transformation to Giga Cat Mario, but we don't see how that like final confrontation actually takes place. I assume you don't just like run up and like swipe at Bowser. But like I don't know if you're giant kaiju Mario and Bowser like stomping around Lake Lapcat. Like I don't know. I can't wait to see and play that.
Yeah, totally. Also, Bowser Jr. is a companion character who uses his paintbrush to access power-ups or otherwise change the environment. And this one does have multiplayer. Bowser Jr. is controllable by a second player, but only in local co-op. No online co-op for Bowser's Fury.
This is interesting. And I don't. This we'll need to really see how much of an effect that the second player can have control, because he kind of seems like he's just sort of triggering things that are already there in the world, right? Like that there will be a power up painted on the wall and he just like uses his paintbrush to make it real. But if he has the ability to stun enemies, or like when someone plays as the Luma in Mario Galaxy, Like I wonder if it'll be like that, or it'll be more involved if he has to platform on his own. A lot of questions still on this one.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. The whole like world of Lake Lapcat is like full of cat stuff. So
Yeah.
if they dabbled in it with the 3D world, like they're going all in for Bowser's Fury. You collect cat shines, which seem very similar to the moons in Super Mario Odyssey. There's like regular cats hanging out all over the
Just
place.
regular cats. I mean, they're like multicolored. There's like a purple one and an orange one, but like and I guess an orange cat is a real kind of cat. So that was a bad example on my part. A green cat, that's not real. Yeah, they're just like real cats that Mario, who sometimes turns into a cat, has to share the space with. It's wild.
And then not in the trailer, but on the website, they show off cat versions of a bunch of like enemy types, including cat Goombas, cat Koopas, cat Piranha plants. I'm assuming they all have like adorable cat names, but we don't know what they are yet.
Right. And I mean, if you want like a fresh new nightmare texture to invade your dreams, check out the fur on the cat piranha plant and a cat Koopa. It's so weird. Why is it furry? It's a turtle.
So there's also amiibo functionality in Bowser's Fury. Plus, they're going to be reprinting the Bowser and Bowser Jr. amiibo. The Bowser amiibo makes Fury Bowser appear,
AKA God's Lair.
Yes, and so I guess like the mechanic is basically like you're running around like Lapcat and you're trying to do like the platforming and get as many of the like cat shines as you can, and then at times that are not necessarily like determined by you, Fury Bowser arises and like wreaks havoc on the world. And so, but if you have the Bowser amiibo, you can kind of like if you want to summon him,
whenever,
yeah, you can trigger it whenever you want. And then the Bowser Jr. amiibo unleashes a powerful shockwave to knock out nearby enemies and blocks.
And then the amiibo section of the website also goes on to say, try out other amiibo for different in-game surprises. So they say that basically all other amiibo are compatible. This may be something along the lines of, like the Hyrule Warriors games do this, where it's just like you can scan an amiibo and get like some gold or so like a reward, and you can do it like once every 24 hours. So it's cool. It's cool to see that they are providing some sort of amiibo support to this, and that in addition to the new ones, that they are re-releasing the Bowser and Bowser Jr., and that's the Bowser from the Super Smash Brothers set, and not from the Super Mario set, which is the cooler Bowser anyway.
Is the one for the Super Mario set the wedding Bowser, or is that specifically from Odyssey?
So that is specifically from Odyssey, yeah. So I guess there are three Bowsers at three Bowser amiibo at this point. Plus, probably there was the Skylanders one too. So yeah, there's the one because there's a whole set of like Super Mario amiibo that were originally intended to be with Mario Party. And they're like much more sort of basic designs of like Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Bowser, and a couple others. And they stand on like a little red base that has like a checkered design on the top of it, instead of the sort of Smash Brothers coin with that like gold Smash logo. Yeah, the Smash ones are more detailed and more dramatic and more fun. So it's cool that they're re-releasing that. I had forgotten about the Mario Odyssey amiibos. Those are good amiibo.
Those are good amiibo. Yeah,
I've got them buried in a box in my apartment. I should get them out.
yeah, those are fun. One thing I'd like on Nintendo's website is they're being very upfront about like what Bowser's Fury is, or like I guess like how meaty of an experience you can expect. And they basically say like, hey, it's short but action packed. So I think like Bowser's Fury, it's not like a full blown game that you're going to spend as much time as you would on 3D World, but it seems like a nice like fun like supplement that they are adding to it to kind of sweeten the deal for the game when it comes out on February 12th for the full price of $60. And they haven't always done this with these like re-releases, but this is something to me, especially, I mean, obviously as someone who didn't own a Wii U, like this is a very enticing package. Patrick is somebody who has played a lot of this game previously. Seems like you're still kind of excited for it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, if Bowser's Fury wasn't on this thing, I would buy it for $60. But the inclusion of Bowser's Fury makes me very excited, especially like seeing that it looks to me like it is sort of a cross between 3D World and Odyssey. Like it seems like it is one of the big kingdoms, like something the size of the Sand Kingdom or the Metro Kingdom. That it is a big single like sandbox that dynamically changes and that you can have spend some real time exploring. And if that's like if that's how long you end up playing the game is the length that you would spend exploring a single kingdom in Mario Odyssey, like that's enough for me.
Yeah, so it's less than a month away at this point. Game comes out on
Wild.
February 12th. And Nintendo also snuck in there that there are going to be a second set of those like Mario pins, which
And these are different pins. Mark, our questions have been answered. That it is not that they are re-releasing the old set. It is new pins based on the latter half of Mario's canon. But these are trickier to get. So last time you had to do like 6 or 7 missions, something like that, on my Nintendo, and these are missions that are participate in this event. Mark, you playing in the Splatoon Splatfest is one of the missions. So it was relatively easy to get the rest of the missions and then buy the Super Mario 3D All Stars collection.
Right. Yeah.
Relatively.
So like doing the first set of missions was fairly easy. Getting the pins themselves was like a nightmare.
Difficult. And I did not succeed at it. But this time the number of missions that you have to accomplish is 15. So, and new missions appear and disappear kind of all the time. So, if you are interested in getting this set of pins, first of all, buy Super Mario 3D World digitally, so you can do it now, so you don't have to like wait to register it after you buy it and get like the physical copy back. So do that, and then also start like looking at these missions to see which ones you can do. Because again, some of them are like participate in this Splatfest, which is gone now, doesn't exist anymore. Race in this Mario Kart Tour special event, which is over, which you can't do anymore. So check those out. They're going up and they're changing all the time. I did a couple today that were quick and just like read this newsletter and like type in this code to complete the mission. But I'm still a couple away. So like these are pins that I want to get. I want to secure them. But I will not be. I may still fail at it, but it will not be because I didn't do all the missions.
Yeah, so if you did the missions for the first pin sets, you have like 6 or 7 already done. Those count towards the 15. You don't have to do 15 new ones. They added 2 new missions at the end here. Like one is like go to the 3D World website and find, these stickers. The other one is go to like a specific news item on the Switch news feed and scan the QR code. But like I'm glad they added those because I'm barely gonna like squeak by with the 15 because a lot of the ones like you were saying are already over. Like you can't redeem the Cold Stone Creamy coupon anymore. Like
that's right.
The Smash Brothers Ultimate Tournament is over with. So there's a lot that like
there was a Mario Maker 2 one as well. Like there are a lot of timed events, and so like we still have a couple weeks between now and when the game comes out. So there could be other ones that pop up. So just if it's something that you're interested in, I think you just need to be vigilant about it and like actually try to accomplish these missions, which is a dumb it's a dumb thing to have to do, but like if you want the pins, you want the pins.
Also, I think that even if you pre-order 3D World digitally, that they won't actually credit you until the game is released. So I think it's like a few days after the game is released that like you will get the credit for purchasing it. But that's okay anyways, because if it's anything like the first round of the pins, they set like a specific time where they're like the pins are going to be available like starting at this time, and like God help you trying to get them. But I want these more than I wanted like I was lucky to get the first set, but I am excited for these because like I saw that the Mario that represents Super Mario Sunshine with like Flood, and I'm like, ooh, like I need that. Like I feel like Super Mario Sunshine Mario does not get very much play, and so it's exciting to see it.
Yeah, I mean these are worth scrambling for, I think. So, yeah, Mark. So I think we're both we're totally locked in. Obviously, we're suckers for Nintendo stuff. But seeing these the set of trailers and sort of exploring this website today, made me super excited. I can't wait for this game to come out.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this too. I'm like Bowser's Fury seems like interesting and I'm excited to check it out, but like my main excitement is really reserved for just being able to play Super Mario 3D World.
I'm also a little bit excited for the game to come out so that we can sort of clear the slate and be like, okay, Nintendo, what next? What else happens this year?
Yeah, that's true. I feel like we know so little. Also, something that Nintendo revealed around this time is a new Switch. It's a Mario Red and Blue Edition Switch system. The system itself, the dock and the Joy-Con are red, but like a different red from the like Mario Odyssey ones. Um, Seemingly, maybe it's just like
Yeah,
the
it's hard to say.
images, but yeah, but seemingly a different red. And then the Joy-Con grip itself and the Joy-Con like not the straps, but like the connector that you slide on, so that way you can like play it sideways and have easy access
Yeah,
to the buttons.
I think they're still referred to as the wrist straps, or like the plastic part of the wrist strap is also blue.
Right. Okay. And
Yeah.
then, so this is the first time that the Switch itself is going to be a color other than black. Like the system itself is red on this one. In the renders, I think it's really cool looking. But then you see, but I don't know how it would be like in real life if this would be too much.
Yeah, it's also weird because like, yeah, the whole thing is red, but like there's that kind of bezel around the like front of the screen that's still black, right? Like
Hmm.
there's still parts of that aren't screen, that aren't red. So I don't know. It's a little bit strange. I also wonder what like the visual effect of having the red Joy-Cons. The image that we are looking at has the Joy-Cons separated, but having the red Joy-Cons on the red Switch
Yeah. Or, I mean,
feels like a lot.
it does feel like a lot. And actually seeing them in some of the other renders where it's like the red Joy-Con are in the blue Joy-Con holder, and even that is like it's a lot. Um,
Yeah.
but again, like in the render, I'm like, ooh, this is kind of cool looking. It comes with a carrying case that's like red and has some like Mario design on it. It's like power-ups design, and then the like border around it is blue. The whole
Yeah, the
thing,
zipper.
it's going to be available on February 12th for the regular Switch price of $299.99. Yeah, not don't really know. I don't really covet this one like I coveted the Animal Crossing special
Oh,
edition.
the Animal Crossing one.
But rumors are that like some sort of Switch revision is coming this year. So I'm saving my video game money for whatever that is going to be.
Right, and hopefully the new the new Switch revision isn't just they dipped it in red paint.
In addition to last week's trailer for Super Mario 3D World, we also got a full trailer and release date for the new Pokemon Snap game, which is just called New Pokemon Snap and is going to be released April 30th.
Yeah, this is an exciting one for most of the Pokemon audience. Mark, you and I are not big Pokemon guys, but there is something about the simplicity of this game and the like sort of gentle, chill hangout vibe of it that is exactly what I want right now. And so I if you had said to me, "Hey, there's a new Pokemon Snap game," just the premise doesn't seem like one that I would buy into. But right now I'm feeling like it's a game that I would like to play.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think it'll be my experience with a lot of Pokemon games where I like dabble with it, but this seems like
Yes.
a fun, like fine one to dabble with. One interesting like selling point or like bullet point or point of interest is they say that over 200 Pokemon appear in the game, which on one hand you're like, wow, like 200, that's a lot of Pokemon. On the other hand, you're like, it's actually not that many
Yeah, you're like,
Pokemon.
where are the other 600 whatever? Like, it's a lot of them that aren't there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it, Dexit crowd, where are you on this one? Huh? Not enough Pokemon in this Pokemon Snap. This is cool, and it has me It has my mind, and I think we're going to talk about this in a future episode. But I really like the idea that you can exist in the world of a video game, and like take pictures of the characters and creatures and environments without having to engage in the game's systems. Like one of the things that always puts me off of Pokemon is like the depth of the meta game and you know, trying to get characters with specific natures or shiny or you know whatever attributes. And if I'm just instead like taking pictures of cute animals, that sounds great. So yeah, I think we are going to try to come up with you know other Snap franchises that we'd like to see at some point. But in the meantime, Pokemon Snap feels like a fun way to engage with the brand without you know having to having to play a Pokemon game.
I completely agree. Like the world of Pokemon is so much fun, and like
Yes.
everything about it is really appealing. But it can't sometimes be like a grind or a slog to like play through the Pokemon games themselves. And this does seem like just a great way to allow yourself to be in that world, but not have to like devote yourself to just grinding through like a Pokemon
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Oh, but also that made me think that it's true that we don't know a lot about like Nintendo's first party lineup for 2021, but the front of the year is like pretty well stacked and like at least through April, like we have a fairly good idea. Next month you have 3D World, and then in March you have Bravely Default 2 plus Monster Hunter Rise, and then in
Is
April now.
Bravely Default not in February
Oh,
sometime?
maybe it's in February. You're right. It might be a February release. So like, you have 2 games in February, a major one in March. You have
Yeah.
Pokemon Snap at the end of April. So they do have like
Yeah, that's not bad.
some
That's
breathing room.
yeah.
Especially if like there's a new Switch revealed somewhere in there. There's a lot going on in those
Yeah.
first few months. Speaking of Pokemon, a new Pokemon rumor, I would say it was like crystallized this week, even though we have, I feel like it's been floating out in the ether that this might be coming for a while. The website Pokemon Centro is reporting that they have sources saying that we will see remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl on Switch in 2021. These would be the Pokemon games for 2021. They're saying that there would be a reveal sometime in February, and that reportedly it's not a remake in the style of Pokemon Let's Go, that it would be like a more traditional remake in the style of like Sword and Shield. It's not
Yeah.
really clear.
Hard to say. But and sort of interesting because I feel like the like Gen 2, which I know this isn't, but a Gen 2 Let's Go is sort of where I feel like most of the speculation has been. And possibly that's just from like the limited imagination of us being like, oh, they did Let's Go before, they'll do Let's Go again. Um but yeah, I think it'd be cool to see just like a you know, as complete of a remake as they can, maintaining all of like the Pokemon systems that we see in Sword and Shield, or Sun and Moon, just for Diamond and Pearl. That seems like an attractive package to me.
Yeah, and this is 2021 is the 15th anniversary of Diamond and Pearl, which originally came out on the DS in 2006. And also, 2021 is a banner year for Pokemon because it's the 25th anniversary of the
Right.
entire franchise. So I expect that we will see a number of like Pokemon related projects. I have to admit, like, I am. It makes sense to me that if they decide not to go the Let's Go route, but I really liked Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, and so like just like we were saying with Pokemon Snap, like for me, the Let's Go series or the Let's Go entry kind of like shaved some of the rough edges off of the stuff like
Yeah.
I don't love about Pokemon. It really like streamlined it and allowed me to engage with the stuff I do enjoy. And so another game in that style is something that I personally would be interested in. A like remake of Diamond and Pearl, games that I haven't played before, like doesn't really appeal to me, especially if it's just in the style of like Sword and Shield, and so just kind of feels like what we already have.
Yeah, I mean, unless this is like part of another step forward in like the evolution of like Pokemon as a franchise, it could be you know sort of a preview of what we can expect in Gen 9. You know, like it's there's the and obviously until we know more, the possibilities are sort of limitless here.
It's a great point. And just kind of like a brief overview of Diamond and Pearl for if you are like Patrick and myself who are not like deeply into Pokemon and know all the gens by heart. Diamond and Pearl takes place in the, I'm going to take a shot at this, Sinnoh region.
That's what I would say. That's exactly what my shot would have been too.
And the starters are Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup.
And Chimchar is that's a good one. It's a little fiery monkey. Like that's cute. I'm all about it. This is the Diamond and Pearl. Originally, you already said this came out in 2006 on the DS. Mark, we don't have it anywhere in our news, our run of news here, but you mentioned that it is the 25th anniversary for Pokemon, and they're doing like a bunch of other stuff, including like doing something with Katy Perry. It's not clear to me what it is. But so, well, this is a rumor that we're talking about the Diamond and Pearl remakes. It felt like there was more to talk about there than the actual news, which is they're doing something with Katy Perry. And I don't understand what it is.
I saw that headline. I did not investigate it. I am hopeful that what it is she's going to be doing a cover of the Pokemon anime theme song opening.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. I love that.
My guess is it's like some original number that she wrote in collaboration with somebody, but that's not what my dream collaboration with Katy Perry would be, her singing the opening song.
It's not your heart's desire. Just as long as we're on news topics that did not make the rundown here, there is a Resident Evil event this week, I believe on Thursday. I don't have it in the rundown just because, there have been Resident Evil games re-released on the Switch. They haven't really been part of like the new like vanguard of Resident Evil, but there should be some kind of announcements coming out this week, and if there are any that are related to Nintendo, we will definitely talk about them next week.
There have been rumblings that there's going to be a cloud version of Resident Evil 8 for Switch. Or something cloud version for Switch. There was Resident Evil 7 had a cloud version that was Japan only.
In Japan, yeah.
So maybe that will come to the US as well. Also, there have been rumors of like a Resident Evil Revelations 3 being in the works for a while, and I don't think that it would be Switch exclusive, but I wonder if it would be a candidate for a cloud version as well.
Yeah, or just able to play it on Switch, like that they could just sort of play to the technical limitations, because the first two, obviously run great on Switch. I wonder if they'd ever do the 2 and 3 remakes as streaming games.
Oh yeah, Switch. That's a good point. I would totally play the third one as like a so I guess maybe I would just get on PS4 for cheap.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
yeah, me too. I had the same thought where it's like, oh yeah, I could play. Well, no, I'd play it on PlayStation 4.
But yeah, I mean, also like I don't think Resident Evil Village, I just call it Resident Evil 8, but like has a release date. So I think we're going to get because I think is it an anniversary year for Resident Evil as well. I think we're getting a lot of Resident Evil stuff this year. So buckle up, I guess. I didn't have it. There was no elegant way to end.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah. Moving on, in an interview with Famitsu, Bravely Default 2 producer Masashi. Patrick, you're gonna have to do this one. I feel like I butcher these Japanese names like episode after episode, and
I feel like you do a really good job normally. I believe this one is Masashi Takahashi.
Thank you. He went into a little more detail about things they changed following feedback from players after the demo that was released in December 2019. He said, quote, "The list of things we changed was endless. To put it simply, we pulled the camera back slightly in dungeons. People who played the demo felt it was too easy to get lost in dungeons and that they got attacked by off-screen monsters. So we addressed those concerns by pulling the camera back. We also cleaned up the faces on character icons in shops and menus. We didn't change the models or anything, we just adjusted the shadows and such to make things look nicer. Additionally, we added the ability to compare new weapons and armor in shops. I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but this is a feature that should have been in the game. We just weren't able to implement it in time for the first demo. I was ashamed at how often I found myself apologizing while reading survey responses from fans. With that in mind, however, I'm also somewhat relieved. It reconfirmed that this was the right direction for the final product.
So now that is interesting because we saw in a Nintendo partner showcase a couple months back that they talked about some of the things that had been tweaked for the
They
final release.
they released a whole like 20-minute video where they like delineated them for
that's
people
right.
who cared. Yeah.
But and all of those things, I remember thinking like that wasn't my problem with the game. Like I found like the experience of it like cumbersome and kind of ugly. And just like saying something like we pulled the camera back in the dungeons because it wasn't like working, or we cleaned up some of the character icons. Like some of that does address the like aesthetic problems that I had with the original game or with the original demo. There's still going to be some voice acting in this thing that I have to switch to Japanese or mute. But yeah, it's sort of reassuring to hear that there are just other quality of life and like aesthetic things that they addressed in addition to what that showcase made it sound like.
Yeah, Bravely Default 2 is definitely a wait and see for me, and definitely like
Totally.
on the far end of wait. Um it'll be interesting to see what the reviews are like. I mean, one of the things with Octopath Traveler that made it immediately appealing was like the art style and the presentation. The music was amazing. I don't know if it Bravely Default 2 has the same shares a composer with Octopath Traveler, but yeah, for whatever reason, like Bravely Default 2 has just never been on my radar as something that I'm like excited for. And so it'll just be interesting to see how it plays out. It feels like much more like one of those we've talked in the past how like, man, I wish like uh these portable only franchises make their way to
Yeah.
Switch. And it Bravely Default 2 looks like it is fulfilling that request, but it's at a $60 price point, and it doesn't look to me like a game that
There's a
is
monkey
worthy
paw
of that
happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting when like reading about this story, there was a lot of Bravely Default 2 sort of like key art, and the characters in the key art look great. It's just when they're translated into the game and they've got these enormous heads, that like I don't know, it just feels like too plasticky or something. And I can see where they're like sort of replicating the aesthetic of Bravely Default and Bravely Second on the 3DS. But like that's such a lower poly count that like those models sort of make sense like that. When you make them look realer, they don't it doesn't they don't survive the graphical upgrade. Um so I wish that they could either be blockier or more like the key art, because I think there's like something in the middle isn't working for me.
In kind of bummer news, the opening of Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Japan, which it was originally scheduled to open on February 4th. We had like a direct with Shigeru Miyamoto walking around, interacting with Mario and Luigi, saying that, I can't play with you guys right now. Dad's busy. It was super cute. It was really exciting. And Universal just announced that the opening has been delayed indefinitely because of a resurgence of COVID-19 in Japan, and that no new date is set. They were just basically 2 weeks away from opening. Now there's no date, and yeah, kind of bleak, bit of a bummer.
Kind of bleak, a bit of a bummer. Obviously, the right move. Mark, again, I can't believe that you're going to go into jury duty, but we can't go to Super Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
I mean, it's yeah, it's it is a bummer. But we're still in this. We're not. Vaccines are just starting to roll out. And it is a slow and painful process, and we're just not there yet. So, I will be happy to go to. I mean, first of all, we're not going to Japan, but when it does open in Hollywood, I'll be excited to go when we can go and when we can go safely.
We do though have a new doctor in Dr. Mario World, which means that it's time for us to update our definitive rankings of all the doctors in Dr. Mario World. And this week, Dr. Iggy is joining the team.
So, Mark, the doctors from Dr. Mario World, we ranked the top. There are 40 of them. 40 of them. we have ranked. I'm just going to quickly read them from the bottom up. 40 is Dr. Kamek, Dr. Koopa Trooper, Dr. Fire Mario, Dr. Fire Luigi, Dr. Fire Peach, Dr. Fire Rosalina. I lost my place. Dr. Lemmy, Dr. Larry, Dr. Morton, Dr. Luma, Dr. Baby Rosalina, Dr. Baby Peach, Dr. Baby Luigi, Dr. Baby Mario, Dr. Toad, Dr. Bowser, Dr. Dry Bowser, Dr. Waluigi, Dr. Diddy Kong, Dr. Wario, Dr. Bowser Jr., Dr. Baby Daisy, Dr. King Boo, Dr. Nabbit, Dr. Wendy, Dr. Mario, Dr. Dolphin, Dr. Yoshi, Dr. Toadette, Dr. Luigi at number 11. Number 10 is Dr. Roy. Then at number 9 is Dr. 8-Bit Mario. Number 8 is Dr. Ludwig. Number 7 is Dr. Peach. Number 6 is Dr. Rosalina. Number 5 is Dr. Goomba Tower. Number 4 is Dr. Lakitu. Number 3 is Dr. Baby Wario, which is just a mind-bending concept, of course, which is why it's ranked so high. Number 2 is Dr. Donkey Kong. And, of course, number 1 is Dr. Daisy. Mark, where would you like to put Dr. Iggy?
So I think Dr. Iggy is definitely below, below Dr. Roy. I'm thinking
Dr. Roy is pretty high for being a Dr. Koopaling.
Yeah, number 10.
Yeah. Can I introduce something of note here?
Yeah, please.
Many years ago, you and I ranked the Koopalings. And it was a list that we held up as definitive when we went through and determined whether all of our lists were definitive or not. And Iggy was number 7 out of 7. I think Dr. Iggy can't rank any higher than the rest of the Koopa kids.
I think that's totally fair. Do we put him? I think better than Dr. Kamek. We decided for sure. Dr. Kamek is a crank.
And a hack, and he will take advantage of you. Do not trust Dr. Kamek.
I think we put him above all the fire variants, and so he's under Dr. Lemmy, so the lowest of the Koopa kids. I feel like that's an appropriate placement for him at number 35.
Sure, so he is the new number 35. Let's see, Dr. Iggy. Right below Dr. Lemmy and Dr. Larry as well.
Yep.
I think that's fair. I think you don't want to trust this doctor
no.
either, really. But he's at least more interesting than fire variants of the rest of the doctors. All right, that's a good definitive list. I'm glad it keeps growing.
And finally, we do have the results of last weekend's Global Splatfest in Splatoon 2, celebrating Super Mario 35. So the winner, it was between Super Mushroom and Superstar. Superstar was the most popular, and as somebody who ended up picking Superstar, I can tell you that was readily apparent because the vast majority of my matches were against other Superstar teams. Very rarely did I get a team that was repping Super Mushroom. So it was like 68% to 32% in favor of Superstar. But what that also means in generally in Splatoon 2 Splatfest is that the most popular team ends up losing, and that is the case here as well. Super Mushroom took the other two categories, winning the most normal matches and the most pro matches. So taking the Splatoon 2 Splatfest 2-1 is the Super Mushroom.
That's good. Mark, do you feel like you contributed at all to the Superstar's failure?
I can say without a doubt that I was a big contributor.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, please share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. We appreciate it when you do that. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. There's also a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying, if you think about it, this podcast is like Dark Souls, but a podcast. Thanks for listening.
My name is Will Himes, and I am a ghostwriter, meaning I write other people's books for them. And I have a podcast called I Will Write Your Book, which are recordings of my meetings with my eccentric clients, such as a woman blocked after one sentence of a children's book about her dogs, a romance novelist who dislikes sex, and a man proud of having sampled everything in his local grocery store. This podcast has been described as fully improvised, played by some of the best comedians on the planet Earth. Hey, that's pretty good. That's I Will Write Your Book on Campfire Media.
Campfire.